Am I the asshole for being Hawaiian and having my dad talk to the principal? I, 17 male. Do not believe I am the asshole, but my girlfriend, 18 female, broke up with me over everything. Last week in history we were talking about World War II and the discussion moved towards Pearl Harbor. My teacher asked a girl, we'll call her Mealy, her opinions on Pearl Harbor as a Hawaiian. She gave some kind of bullshit answer about how the opinion is pretty divided among Hawaiians and how her grandma was there that day and was happy to see the military base be bombed because allegedly she and her family were treated bad by those stationed there. I interjected that I, as a Hawaiian, was disgusted by her comments and that no one should be happy seeing anyone get bombed. She said I wasn't Hawaiian and that pretending to be and speaking over her grandma's experience was disgusting. I told her I was born in Hawaii and lived there longer than her, so maybe she's the one who shouldn't be speaking about Hawaiian experiences. I said my nationality is Hawaiian and there's nothing she could do about it. She then said you could only be ethnically Hawaiian because Hawaii isn't a nation anymore and that my nationality is American. She then insulted me by saying that me being born on base in Hawaii didn't make me Hawaiian, it made me a colonizer. I told her she's a racist and told my teacher I can't believe he was allowing her to speak like that, but he said I was the one who was acting inappropriate. So I was talking to my girlfriend about it during and she said that I was in the wrong and didn't talk to me until the next day when she said she thinks we should break up because we are going to different colleges and she didn't like who I was anymore. Well, this weekend my dad asked what was up with me and my girlfriend and I told him everything and he said my history teacher was out of line and asked if I wanted him to talk to the principal. So yesterday we did and word got around school. Now people have been calling me racist, but there are also people calling Mealy out on her shit as well. So who's the asshole here? Edit. Since everyone seems to think it's so important, no, I'm not ethnically Hawaiian. Edit 2. I know the history of Hawaii, stop assuming I don't. I didn't run off and cry to daddy. My dad saw I was sad and decided to be a good parent and see what was the matter. Stop calling me a howly, stop messaging me about my girlfriend frowning face. You are the asshole. If you're not ethnically Hawaiian, which it sounds like you're not, then you are a white American who was born in Hawaii. This is not the same thing. I'm sure a lot of people will answer without understanding this history, but that girl in your class was 100% right. Your experience and perspective is your right, but you cannot use that to speak for native peoples who were colonized by America and have a very different perspective. You come across like a typical entitled white guy. Your girlfriend broke up with you because you're not only ignorant but insensitive and entitled. You are the asshole for thinking that being from Hawaii is the same as being ethnically Hawaiian. The teacher also sucks for calling on the one native Hawaiian in the class to represent the Hawaiian viewpoint. It's like calling on the one Jewish kid when talking about the Holocaust, or the one black kid when talking about slavery. You are the asshole. There is a huge difference between being born in Hawaii and Hawaiian heritage. Please learn the difference. You are the asshole. I am an American. I was born here. I am not a Native American. I don't chime in on conversations asking for a Native American's POV. You were born in Hawaii. You are not a Hawaiian native, which is what was being asked. Your ancestors did not live in the Kingdom of Hawaii. You were not forcibly annexed by the United States. You don't have a unique perspective to share. People shouldn't bomb people. Wait till you find out what colonization involved. You are the asshole for talking over an ethnic Hawaiian. You are the asshole, not for calling out the bombing comments but for insinuating being born in Hawaii is the same as being an ethnic Hawaiian. You clearly show at a minimum historical insensitivity or at a max have a sense of cultural supremacy. I do not think you are racist, however. If you are open to learning more about the history, maybe you can learn why you were deemed inappropriate. You are the asshole sounds like Mealy has some valid points. You failed to see both sides and escalated this to parents and principal. Am I the asshole for accidentally sleeping on the couch with my husband? My 24 female husband, 24 male, and I are visiting my family. My husband, kids and I were getting ready to go to our room for bed when my parents started acting really awkward. Like something was off. I asked them what was wrong and my mom quietly told me that my husband should sleep on the couch in the living room. I was a bit shocked because, why? Apparently my dad doesn't feel comfortable. I called her and my dad weird and told my husband to ignore them. We finally put our kids to sleep and are getting ready to sleep when my mom barges into the room while we're changing and says that she doesn't want us in the same room alone in her house. My husband is freaking terrified at this point because he was in the middle of changing, so he leaves for the couch and my mom says she's sorry but she's not in the mood to deal with my dad's complaining all night. I pointed out that my younger sister, 21 female, and her husband have slept in the same room at their house multiple times and she's never said anything, and she goes, "Well, your husband is white so your dad feels weird." I was over it, so I said fine. I got up at like 4 a.m. to drink some water and I saw my husband wide awake just lying on the couch. He said the couch is uncomfortable as fuck, which yes it is. So I sat down next to him and we both accidentally fell asleep. I woke up later to my mom freaking out. She was whisper yelling, so she doesn't wake up my dad, and asked if we're that codependent on each other that we can't spend one night alone. I tried explaining that it was a mistake but she kept calling me disrespectful and said that I was selfish, etc. I was upset but my son called for me so we ended our conversation. Now I'm wondering if I really am the asshole in this situation? My mom says I am because I was being selfish, disrespectful and completely disregarded how difficult her life would have become if my dad found us. My whole thing is that it was an accident. I'm 24. My dad is being weird and my sister's husband doesn't have to do this, so why does mine? Am I the asshole? Edit. My family and I are South Asian. Edit. Yes, I know a lot of this has to do with my husband being white and them being racist, prejudiced. I called my parents weird, strange, awkward because of what they were doing, glaring at each other, swearing at each other under their breaths, randomly going quiet out of nowhere, etc. They do this pretty often and have been doing it for as long as I can remember. So much that my sister and I call it the weird mood. Like, keep an eye out for mom and dad, they're in their weird mood. Sorry for so many edits, but this should be the last one. I'm getting a lot of people asking the same thing, so I'm just going to copy one of my replies. My kids were not in danger. We live over 8 hours away, it was snowing heavily and the roads would have been icy and pitch black. It was after 11 p.m. My sons are 2 and 3 and the nearest hotel is pretty far away. Not to mention my husband and I had been driving for literal hours and were completely exhausted. Trust me, we definitely thought about it and both my husband and I decided to stay the night. Not the asshole. WTF. What kind of shenanigans is this? I don't see why your dad has any issues with you sleeping in the same room with your husband. You guys have kids, so clearly sex has happened. And why is it any different that he's white? Why are your parents racist? Do they treat your kids differently because they're half white? If they do, you need to step up and protect your children from your bigoted parents. And step up for your husband, too. You are the asshole not for sleeping on the couch, but for not standing up for your husband against the blatant racism shown here. Plus your mum stormed in when your husband and you were changing, which your husband clearly said he felt awkward about. Leave the house and refuse to come back. Visit without an apology to your husband and clear rules that are equal for you and your sister. Not the asshole for falling asleep on the sofa next to your husband. But what are you going to do next? Here's what you should do. Set clear boundaries that if your husband will not be respected by your parents, then you can no longer visit their home that includes an overnight stay. You are married, you have kids, they are the priority. Not the asshole. You are adults married to each other with 2 children and your father can't handle that you are still all of these things while in his house. WTF. And somehow your mother is responsible for enforcing his ridiculous rule. Oh, and if he gets upset, that is her fault. So, your father is an asshole and your mother has become emotionally immune to it from years of trying to survive such raging assholery. Good grief. Maybe this is your cue to create a bit of distance here. Or stay in a hotel. Or invite them to your house and have father sleep on your couch. P.S. Notice how your father has made your mother completely responsible for managing his emotions. Everyone sucks here but your husband. Your parents suck for being racist and you suck for not defending your husband. You're married and have 2 kids? Does your dad think it was the Immaculate Conception? Is your dad racist? Not the asshole. WTFFFF is wrong with your parents? Not the asshole. Am I the asshole for expecting my adult daughter to pay back what she owes me? My 48M daughter, 21F Aria, abandoned us, her stepmother, younger half-sister and me, when she was 15 to go live with my enabling ex-wife, Sandra, and her husband. Until then, we had 50-50 custody, but Sandra has always been less strict than me. She's always let Aria do what she wants and has never had any home rules. She also buys Aria everything she wants so she will want to live with her. Sandra lives in the same town where Arya's high school was, while I live 25 minutes away. So, one of my rules was that if she went to meet up with a friend there, meaning I had to drive her, the next time they met it was her friend's turn to come. If the friend's parents didn't want to drive the kid here, then Arya wasn't allowed to meet them again while she was with me. Everything was fine that way for years. The major fallout happened in her last year of high school. She was 15. She went on a trip to another country with her school and didn't bother to send more than a couple texts when she was away for 5 days. So I decided to ground her, because she had to learn to respect and show some love for her family. She insisted she had sent messages to her mother, but we had barely heard from her. She's never had a lot of friends, but she had been invited her to some popular girl's birthday party. This was my punishment, not going to that party after forgetting about her family. She got upset and started calling her mother to come pick her up, but it was illegal to get her if it was my week. Plus, she wanted to go to her mother's because she would lift my punishment and let her go to the party. Her mother came by the end of the week and I told Arya that she didn't have to come back if she didn't want to. I waited, but I heard nothing from her again. Her sister kept asking me why she didn't come back, and I didn't know how to explain to her that she didn't love us and that she preferred staying with her mother, her parties and her free-of-rules life. Over the years we've communicated through lawyers. Because Sandra has zero intentions on helping me get my daughter back, she finally has her to herself. They've been demanding that I pay for child support, even now that she's 21 years old. I have to pay for that and for half of her college expenses, by law. When Arya turned 18, an adult, I started adding up everything I had to pay in an Excel that I send to Sandra when I update it so she knows what damage she is doing to our daughter. I expect Arya to pay her debt. But I gave Sandra the option to pay for her, to which she refused. We are now at 18K. Arya has been trying to get in touch again. I told her that we can't fix the emotional part unless we fix the money part first. She needs to prove to me that she doesn't only care about the money. Sandra says I'm an asshole, but I think she is, since she has done nothing but try to take my daughter away and she finally has what she wants. So, am I the asshole? You are the asshole. You are a horrible father and I can see why your daughter left. You are the asshole. You want your daughter to pay you back for court-ordered child support. You're the biggest ass. You are the asshole. Everything you described her doing was normal teenage behavior that you massively overreacted to, and then you wonder why she left to stay at mom's. And you are compiling a sheet of what your court-ordered support amounts to for college expenses, etc.? No, she doesn't need to pay you back. That is your actual responsibility to support the child. And no, if she's in college, it doesn't just stop at 18. If it did, then you wouldn't still be paying it legally, now would you? If you harass her for repayment, I hope this poor girl just walks away for good. You are the asshole. You suffocated her. Not texting you during an international trip is not grounds for petty and vindictive punishments. You have trouble making friends? I'm going to undercut those efforts. You showed a complete lack of care for her feelings, and it's not surprising she wanted to live with her mother if that's just one incident that you thought put you in a favorable light. I'm sure there's many more of you emotionally manipulating your daughter. And kids don't incur a debt for being kids. You clearly weren't paying your child support. Arya owes you nothing. Parents don't say their kids owe them 18 kelvins in debt when that money is just expenses you should have as a parent. You are the asshole. When Arya turned 18, an adult, I started adding up everything I had to pay in an Excel that I send to Sandra when I update it so she knows what damage she is doing to our daughter. I expect Arya to pay her debt. But I gave Sandra the option to pay for her, to which she refused. We are now at 18K. Your daughter is not an investment, you failure of a father. Wow, you are the asshole. Wow. You clearly have no ability to see this from your daughter's perspective at all. Do you seriously think she went no contact with you for years just because it was more fun and freewheeling at her mother's? An adult can abandon their family, a child cannot. A child leaves because their home life is intolerable. Your daughter does not owe you any debt. She did not sign any contract with you for a loan. You are either willing to support her as a parent or you are not, but she is not forcing you to do anything. You should be thanking your lucky stars she even wants to talk to you again, not trying to manipulate her with this debt. You are the asshole, and a huge one. She is your daughter and she doesn't owe you anything. Unless you had an agreement, but you don't. And her abandoning you. No, she did not. You told her she could stay away and she did, and rightfully so. Because she didn't text you all the time when she was in another country. I would have stayed away too, and I'm someone who hasn't talked to my father for almost 18 years because he was an ass. You deserve it big time. Leave her alone if she doesn't want to talk to you, you controlling poop. So you are blackmailing your daughter. Her child support for a relationship with a father that has been nothing but an ass to her. You are the asshole, and also you are the one who cares more about money, not she. Am I the asshole for ruining my husband's family trip? I, 25F, and my husband, 28M, have been married for 1 year now and have a 2-year-old daughter. My mother-in-law always called us sinful for having a child before marriage, despite the fact we were engaged when we conceived her. She was conceived a few weeks after my husband's proposal. So we had to push the wedding a little bit back, which ended up being on my mother-in-law's birthday party, causing her to cancel her plans for the wedding. She has hated me and my daughter ever since. It's ridiculous. A month ago, my husband was invited on a trip to Barbados by his mother and the rest of his family. It was a family trip. I was thrilled to go with him and bring my daughter along with us. That is, until he broke to news that I would not be able to attend because of the issue with my mother-in-law prior. I thought that was water under the bridge at this point. I found out that his sister's husbands and kids were allowed to go, though. I pretended I didn't care. Yeah, I can stay home and watch our daughter all alone while you party in the Caribbean. I said to him 2 days before he was to leave. When I went to drop him off at the airport, I saw my mother-in-law and the rest of the family gathered around. I decided to go say hey, and I took my daughter with me when I left the car. When I announced myself, my mother-in-law had the nerve to say, and very loudly, "Look, it's the bastard child and her greedy mother." I was shocked, and pissed. I said, "Well, we're married now. I won't allow you to invalidate my relationship and my child any longer." She was visibly mad, and the family started to talk. After that I just left and kissed my husband goodbye. A week into the trip he called me and said I ruined the trip, his mother was crying and mad at him and that it's all they are all thinking about. So, am I the asshole for ruining a good family trip over little insult? Update. I called him at 2 a.m. this morning. It was 4 a.m. and I was kind of hoping for a no answer. He didn't answer. But he did call back at 8 a.m. asking if he could speak to our daughter. I said he could talk to her when he put his mom in check, and set boundaries. I also mentioned a possible break. He asked me what I meant, like I am some idiot. I told him his mom was continuously invalidated our family, and to stoop so low to call our daughter names. He said, and I quote, "I'm not my mother. I do not control what she says. You are absurd for suggesting divorce." Which I never did. I said a break. Which was pretty obvious. I told him he didn't care for him immediate family if he doesn't stand up to her. Instead of manning up he hangs up on me. When I text him why did he do that? This is what he says: "There is bad Wi-Fi around here. When your husband flies back in, go to the airport, drive to drop off and pick up, wave at him with a smile, and dump all his shit out onto the sidewalk and you and your baby drive off for your new, better life." Seriously. Fuck that guy. And his mother. Not the asshole in any way, shape or form. Edit. All of you are too kind. Thank you for the love and awards. Folded hands. Not the asshole. But why would you stay married to someone who would not only allow your child to be called a bastard to her face, but then have the gall to go on holidays with that person and then blame you for upsetting them when you, rightfully, called them on their shit? Why on earth are you still married to this dude? Not the asshole your mill embarrassed herself by being so rude. TBH, I cannot believe your husband still went on the trip without you and didn't stand up to his mother and defend you when she bullied you in front of others. To me, that would be unforgivable. Your mill for her behavior. Your husband for not standing by your side since, 1. You're his wife and that's his daughter, 2. You didn't have that child through an act of God and immaculate conception, 3. Leaving you behind to party with the people who just insulted his entire immediate family, and 4. Continuing to blame you despite you not even being there. You for planning your wedding on a day you knew would antagonize your mill, for exposing your child to her after antagonizing her yet again at the airport when you dropped off your husband knowing what she's like, and lastly, for remaining married to a man who refuses to defend you or your child from such hateful attacks, and who chooses to make you the sole bad guy. Good grief. His mother was crying and mad at him and that it's all they are all thinking about. She started it. What did she expect, leading off with, "Look, it's the bastard child and her greedy mother." Plus, what, does her WHRE son somehow get a pass? It's not like you got pregnant by yourself. There were 2 of you doing the dirty tango. It's only fair that Dippy $CK gets ostracized as well. He shouldn't have gone on the vacation. He shouldn't have let her verbally abuse you. He's weak and comfortable because mommy still loves him. You deserve better than him and Mill. They ruined their own vacation by being horrible, miserable human beings, obsessed with slights and being more concerned with being offended than enjoying their own vacation. They deserve that. No regrets, op. No regrets. And I should add, his older sister did stick up for me in the situation at the airport. Sorry, but you are the asshole. This reads as really fake. She said, look, it's the bastard child and her greedy mother? Just right there openly in front everyone? And then, as the ultimate level-headed protagonist, your gut response was, I won't allow you to invalidate my relationship any longer. And at such a calm response, she got visibly angry? At least take some writing lessons before you post crap like this. Not the asshole, but why do you want to be with your husband when he prioritizes his extended family before you and your child?